Okay, let's get into it. For a long time, we've treated digital inclusion like a chore. It's this checklist we have to get through after all the fun creative stuff is done. But what if that's completely backward? What if inclusion wasn't an afterthought at all, but the core creative strategy that actually gives you an advantage?
Let me just start with a number. 23%. A recent study from SEMrush found that's the median traffic lift for websites that improve their accessibility. Yeah, that is not a small number. That is a huge wave of new people finding and actually using your site.
And that right there, that gets to the heart of this whole thing. That 23% isn't just some feel-good metric. No, it's hard proof that when you build for everyone, it directly impacts your performance. We're talking more reach, better engagement, and a whole lot more trust with your audience. It's smart business.
So this brings up a pretty big question, right? If we know this works, why is our default setting still fixing things that are already broken? Why are we always patching holes in the boat after it's launched instead of just building a better boat from the get-go? That's the core problem we're going to unpack here.
And it all really comes down to what we can call the bolt-on problem. This is that flawed, reactive way of thinking that's kind of dominated digital design for years, and honestly, it's holding us all back.
So what does this bolt-on thing look like in the real world? Well, it's usually that last-minute scramble, chasing checklists. Hey, did we add alt text? Is the keyboard focus working? And this leads to this whole world of quick fixes, patches, and these clunky overlays. It's all about just hitting compliance, not about creating a genuinely good experience for a human being.
And here's the fundamental problem with that. The rulebook we're all following, the current WCAG 2.2 standard, it was basically designed for a much simpler, more static web. It treats a web page like something that just passes or fails. But today's web, it's alive. It's powered by AI. It's got voice interfaces. It's constantly changing. We're using rules made for PDFs to judge this incredibly interactive, intelligent system. It just doesn't fit anymore.
So you can really see the two different mindsets laid out here. On one side, you've got bolt-on, which is totally reactive. It's all about retrofitting and patching just to hit compliance. But on the other side, you've got built-in. And that approach is proactive. It's about making inclusion a core part of the creative design process from day one and turning it into a real, tangible advantage.
So, how do we make that jump from bolt-on to built-in? Well, we have to kind of update our foundational thinking. We need to find the missing piece of the puzzle. Let's call it the missing A.
See, for years now, accessible design has stood on 4 solid pillars, known as POUR. It means content has to be perceivable, interfaces have to be operable, information needs to be understandable, and the whole thing must be robust enough for different technologies to read it. And look, that's been a critical foundation, but for the super dynamic web we live in now, it's just not quite enough anymore.
So here's the big idea. We need a 5th pillar. We need to add adaptive to that foundation. This is that missing piece, the thing that lets our digital experiences truly meet the needs of today's users in today's digital world.
So what does adaptive actually mean? It means we create systems that flex to the user, instead of forcing the user to adapt to the system. And this is a total game changer for neurodivergent users, folks with ADHD, dyslexia, or autism, who run into friction that static rules just can't fix, like cognitive overload or sensory noise.
And hey, this isn't some far-off science fiction. We can do this right now with what some people call NeuroAI. Just imagine experiences that can offer a comfort mode to instantly simplify a cluttered layout, or a tool that can automatically summarize a giant wall of text, or one that can break a complicated checkout process into tiny, manageable steps. This is all about building digital environments that actually adjust to us.
Okay, so we've got our new pillar, adaptive. Now let's pull this out of theory and into the real world. How does this new way of thinking actually change how we build things? Well, it totally transforms our work from a boring compliance checklist into a genuinely creative challenge.
So this is what the new creative brief looks like. Yeah, you start by meeting the baseline standards, of course, but then you add this personalized adaptive layer on top. It's about giving users real control, making sure our AI tools are transparent, and, this is crucial, co-designing with neurodivergent users, not just making assumptions for them. The big goal is to make that first experience comfortable for everyone, right out of the box.
All right, let's tie this all together and talk about the real payoff here. When you build inclusion in from the very beginning, it's not just better design. It's about gaining a powerful, sustainable, competitive advantage. This is the why behind all of it.
This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures something called the curb cut effect. You know, those ramps and sidewalks?
They were originally designed for people in wheelchairs, an edge case at the time. But who uses them now? Literally everyone. Parents with strollers, travelers with luggage, kids on skateboards. When you solve a problem for one specific group, the solution almost always makes life better for everybody.
And that effect has a very real return on investment. We started this whole thing with that 23% traffic lift, right? But the benefits go so much deeper. You get better SEO, because search engines can actually understand your content. You get lower bounce rates because people aren't getting frustrated and leaving. Higher conversions because the path is clearer for everyone. It all adds up to more trust, better retention, and a brand that's truly built for the future.
You know, there's this really interesting idea that dyslexic thinkers are fantastic at spotting the big picture patterns. And the pattern here couldn't be more clear. Inclusion absolutely drives performance. But there's a catch. It only works when it's truly embedded in your process, not just bolted on at the very end.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple. The debate, it's over. The data is in. We've already proved that inclusion pays off. The question isn't if we should do it anymore, it's how. The challenge for all of us, now, is to stop fixing what's broken and start building experiences that flex to every kind of human mind. It's time to build it in.